Hey guys, welcome to Massive Iron Live. It is August 14th, Friday the 14th, and me and Robert went off to grab a notebook. We'll be on for the next couple of hours. If you have any questions or comments, please, I'm trying to get myself seated here. If you have any questions or comments, drop them in. We'd love to hear from you guys. We take all questions, diet, training, nutrition, supplementation, off topic. If you want to talk about anything off topic, that's fine as well. We don't really have any rules. Feel free to entertain us. Feel free to troll us. Feel free to call us names. Anybody that's tuned in, let us know where you're from, how your Friday is going, how your gym situation is. We'd love to hear from you. And tell us how your training is going. Before we dive into things, Robert is the supplement engineer. You can find him on YouTube at the supplement engineer, on Instagram, supplement engineer. He has a wonderful podcast. You need to check out. It's one of the best in the industry. Robert, your podcast is still going strong?
Yes, sir. Supplement Engineer Podcast. New episode dropped today featuring none other than Lane Norton and his new supplement company that he is launching.
Oh, I didn't know anything about that. Tell us the juicy details in 5 words or less.
Phoenix rising from the ashes.
Is that the name of the supplement company? I hope not.
No, it's called Outwork. So 2016, 2017, he partnered with bodybuilding.com because he had released a lot of supplements, a lot of workout programs through bodybuilding.com, the old FAT protocol and PH3. And they approached him and said, hey, we'll take care of all the manufacturing. You do the formulations. So they released Carbon was the name of the line. They did a prep. You do?
Yeah, I remember Carbon.
Yeah, it was a stim-free pre-workout, a protein powder, and a post-workout formula. Now, at that time, stim-free pre-workouts weren't as commonplace or as popular as they are today. And so he didn't – that's not going to be a big seller. You need to have stims in a pre-workout because that's kind of like the flagship of any supplement company, by and large, in our space, in the sports nutrition, power building community. And he said, he had a lot of personal things going on at the time in his personal life, plus professionally. Yeah. And he didn't take the marketing of it seriously. So it kind of went by the wayside. Bodybuilding.com decided not to renew it all. And they just kind of, let it go by the wayside. So then he got approached by another individual who's one of his friends and our business partners that has launched several other smaller supplement companies. And they decided to jump back into it. And Lane's kind of mindset through all of this has always been outwork the competition, outwork whoever I'm dealing with. And so that's kind of where the genesis of Outwork Nutrition started. So the pre-sale is this week, and I believe products start shipping next week or the following week. So it was pretty cool to be able to get somebody of his stature on the podcast because he's been on Joe Rogan, Mark Bell's podcast, and all of that stuff. And I had tried to get him on maybe about a year ago, and he just had no time. So anytime you can get a PhD on the podcast, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, he went through a lot of stuff with the whole situation on cheating with his wife when they had a baby or whatever and all that kind of stuff. So I hope he's got his stuff sorted out. Let's get rolling, Robert. We got a Stiana client of mine from Norway. The coronavirus is coming back these days. I think everybody's testing more. And in Ohio, if you look at the actual deaths and cases, they're way down. They've been trending down. But the whole fear thing, I don't want to dive into it because anytime I dive into it, somebody calls me a conspiracy theorist for looking at numbers, but, they're testing more.
Yeah. And Austin continues to change the metric by which they're assessing our threat level. So initially it was deaths and then it was new cases in XYZ population. Now they're shifting it to positivity rates in like K through 12 grades. I'm thinking, are you just trying to game the system now to keep everybody in a state of lockdown and fear? I mean, it's completely fucking ridiculous down here.
Regardless of what you think of it, I think we all can unanimously chime in and say, I hope this stuff is over with soon. I want to go back to normal. On the weekends, there's like nothing to do. I mean, we're like, we want to go to a football. I don't care. We go to a rugby match. I'd go to see somebody play tiddlywinks. I don't really care. But there's just nothing to do.
We got UFC tomorrow night, UFC 252, I think.
All right, KO, sir, start your training methods rep range. Not sure what you mean there, KO. You're a frequent commenter. Maybe you could clarify because I'm lost on that. Just a reminder, guys, if we miss any of your questions, YouTube is notorious for not posting up comments. Sometimes if your comment is too long, it'll drop it. Anybody out there, and I want to say that is watching that doesn't typically comment, feel free to chime in. We'd love to hear from you. No question is off limits. All right, I missed 2 workouts after being sick. How should I approach my return? Should I do my Friday workout or make up my missed workout? What I generally recommend is keep your order. Let's say you did shoulders last time and then you got sick. Don't go back to shoulders after a week off. Do the next workout in order, whether it's legs or back or whatever you have. That's the way I would do it. Because if you don't, you're going to go 2 or 2.5 weeks out on working one body part, which doesn't make sense. So I don't even remember the last time I've been sick, but that's KO Sir says, what's the best upper lower versus 3? What's the best upper lower versus 3-day full body for beginners? I just put out an upper lower on my website, superlivingtoday.com, which is right above my head. I think it's the best upper lower I've put out. There's tons of upper lowers in the industry, so I have no comment about the rest of them. I just know with my superior brain, with my existing brain, this is the best I could come up with. So check that out. Robert, do you have a favorite upper lower or any workout upper lower in the industry that is a go-to for you?
What I started doing is, I've remarked on here before how much I like block training and the one that you've put together. So I've taken that template and modified it for our home gym setup here. So we don't have a cable setup for some of the moves there, but I'll substitute in pull-ups or chin-ups in place of lat pull-downs. For cable crossovers, we got some bands here, so I'll set that up. But I've been training long enough now, and I have a deep enough understanding of programming, I would like to think, that I've kind of created my own kind of upper lower set to use movements that best fit my anatomy, my physiology, the way my body works, my biomechanics. Same thing for Sandy. So certain moves that work well for me don't work well for her. She doesn't feel it the same way, or just bugs her shoulder because she's got a jacked up shoulder. So I think that's what it's. I think we have to remember that anytime we see a training program on the internet, it is a template. Over the years, as you become more experienced, you're going to need to massage it and tweak it and finagle it to develop the goals that you want to and find the movements that best suit your anatomy and biomechanics.
I just want to say a few words on upper lower splits because the way I run mine's a little bit different, and I've evolved, how I approach things. Excuse me if I'm being distracted. My dog is doing a slobber fest right now, and she's right in the middle of a 75-minute ritual cleansing.
Licking your testicles, Steve?
Licking everything. So I've evolved my upper lowers over the years. Right now, I prefer to do legs and back on one day and then chest, shoulders, and arms on the other. And one common criticism is that legs and back is really difficult to do on the same day. Well, I will say this as a rebuttal to that. If you're just doing legs on one day and then your entire upper body on the other day, you're really not giving your upper body service. You're going to have to really work hard on those upper days to squeeze an extra volume. And then on your lower days, you basically have a leg day, right? So you basically have 2 leg days each week, and then you're struggling to get in upper lower. So I'm constantly trying to process how to refine an A-B split to make it more palatable, but that's the best I have right now. So I'm still thinking things through. Let's put it like that.
Yeah, the challenging part I always find with upper lower splits is that my shoulders tend to go out before anything else because every upper body movement is hitting the shoulder from some aspect or another. And so that usually ends up being the limiting factor. If I'm trying to do pull-ups or presses or something, it's the shoulder that's going before the chest or the lats or the rhomboids, or all of those are toast.
Yeah, when you're doing whether you're doing a pulling or pushing movement or whatever, the shoulders and the elbows are involved in everything, and you're going to have a lot of volume involved. So
yep.
It's not it's not uncommon. I wouldn't think to have some shoulder strains and pains. Let's see. We got greetings from Greece. How's it going in Greece? Hope all is well. We have Morgan Robert. Do vertical pulls cause bad posture? Do you need horizontal pulls? So, just for reference, Robert, and I'll let you answer this first, but for reference, there's different movement patterns. You have a horizontal press, which is like a bench press, or a push-up, and then you have a horizontal pull, which is a row, like a seated cable row, barbell row, dumbbell row. You have a vertical press, which is an overhead press variation, and a vertical pull, which is a lat pull down or a pull up. So do vertical pulls, lat pull downs, and pull ups cause bad posture? I'll let Robert deal with that one, but do you need horizontal pulls? Yes. Rows. You need more horizontal pulling than you do horizontal pressing. To what degree is debatable. So, Robert, I'm going to let you dive in and dig into this one.
Agreed. Yeah, I would agree with everything you basically just said there, Steve. Yes, you definitely need horizontal rows. Vertical pulls will work some of the muscles, or I guess all of the muscles, assuming you're using compound movements like a pull-up, a chin-up. That's going to hit the same musculature that a row will. It's just to what degree are those muscles going to be recruited? Which ones are getting more emphasis? Which ones are getting less emphasis? The point where vertical pulls cause bad posture, if you do them excessively, you could eventually get chronically tight lats, which could maybe lead to some kind of internal rotation of the shoulders and lead you to feel really tight right there and some pinching in the front of your shoulder and some shoulder impingement. I mean, you'd have to be doing a fuck ton of vertical pulling, not doing any kind of pushing or overdoing some vertical pushing as well, and not doing any horizontal pulling. But I think by and large, I don't think it causes bad posture. I mean, more people need to do more pulling in general. There is a succinct lack of pulling in most people's training programs, horizontally and vertically. So, yeah, I would say that horizontal rows and horizontal pulls, which are rows, probably need to be emphasized more than vertical pulls, but more people need to do more pulling in general.
Yeah, the face pull-up session that was basically started by Athlete X, and correct me if I'm wrong, if somebody else started the movement. That's all good and well, but one thing that bothers me about it is lifters don't have an equal passion for their rows and their pulls, their vertical and horizontal pulling. If you're more passionate about face pulls than you are your horizontal and vertical pulling, which a lot of people are, like if I put together a workout and face pulls are an afterthought, people are laying eggs, like they're just going berserk, and like you got to be more passionate about your rows and pulls. That's not diminishing face pulls at all, but balance. You gotta look at the big picture. Redline Fitness, a client of mine, happy birthday. I think he's having his 3rd birthday dinner tonight, fattening up for the fall. Just kidding, man. Checking in. Hope everyone's staying healthy. Don't jinx us by calling it a sunny Friday in Ohio. It'll probably rain. Ben Adventures, hey, Friday crew. I hope all is well. I'm creeping up on the dumbbell bench, 85 by 4 by 17. That's not creeping. You're pretty much there. So you get to 100 by 4 by 20, and that's pretty Herculean. So well done.
Fridays must be Ben's bench day because he always leads off his comments with some kind of bench comments. I wonder if Friday's his chest day.
Yeah, you're a pretty smart and intelligent human being if you're doing benching on Friday at a commercial gym, because it's funny to watch the commercial gym habits. I'm not sure how much time you spend at commercial gyms, Robert, but you go on a Monday and it's packed. Tuesday, it's kind of packed. And then by Wednesday, the fuck bucket's almost empty. On Friday, you could run around that thing nude and flip a coin whether somebody would see you. That's I'm exaggerating, of course, but Friday would be a good day to bench press.
Yeah. I remember hearing John Meadows talk a couple of years back. He said when he was training with some friends, that Saturday was their leg day, that they always like to get after it then because the gym was completely empty and they could just go ham on the weights.
Yeah, I mean, if you're really smart about it, you can figure out what days are the best days to go and schedule around if you don't like all the headaches. The only downside is when you roll in there on like a Thursday or Friday or Saturday, you got to pick up everyone's shit because all the lazy Slobacheskis that were in there doing their curls and monkey crap are just leaving stuff everywhere. But on the other hand, you're not going to be enraged by seeing them leave stuff. I mean, is anything more enraging? Like if you're in the middle of a set and doofus dipshit is doing easy bar curls and supersetting one with ball jumps or whatever the fuck he's doing, and then he just leaves his stuff there, and like you're in the middle of a set and you want to go over and ram that easy bar up his ass, but you're like, serenity now. I can't do that. So I'd rather not be around him. I get triggered pretty easily.
Oh man, you're on a roll today, Steve. I like it.
All right, Scott McEarleen from Scotland in the UK. 5,000 or so deaths have been lopped off the death toll due to the way they are recorded. They were actually diagnosing COVID deaths a month after the patient actually had it. I'm not surprised. I mean, I don't like to get into conspiracy theories, but there's a lot of bullshit math going on. We all have to admit that. And all we want is the truth. That's a fair assessment.
Agreed.
Greg Duvier, high bar, low bar squats. Robert, you know my answer to this, so I'm going to let you answer.
I'm going to say, what is your goal? How is your body built? Are you built for high bar squatting? Or are you built better for low bar squatting? Which one feels better? What is your goal? If you're a power lifter, you're probably going to want to go with a low bar squat just due to leverages. You'll be able to move more weight. High bar squatting might be a better option for hypertrophy since that tends to target the quads more and not as much of the posterior chain. Puts a little bit more tension onto the quads that way. Also has you squatting down a little bit more vertically, maintain a little bit more vertical torso. But then again, it's all going to depend on what is your anatomy, how are your biomechanics working all in there. They both can fit in a program. You can rotate one in during a mesocycle and then switch to another one, another mesocycle. Find the exercise that works best for you in that instance. It's not an either or situation there.
Yeah, I mean, let's set the table by understanding that there's no one way for anyone. And I've had a couple of videos about Ripito this week. And, any strength coach that tells you there's one way to squat is full of shit. They're full of shit.
Yep.
If I've sat behind the scenes at, I have friends that are, that have competed in the Arnolds, the Arnold powerlifting meets and other top meets. And I've sat back there supporting them. We would talk about high bar and low bar squats. When we talk about these things, everybody laughs at a coach that says there's only one way. These top level guys laugh at Ripito when he says there's only one way to squat. They laugh at him. And if you think I'm full of shit or if that triggers you, it's too bad. Go change your diaper because that's the reality. But any coach that says there's only one way to squat is full of shit. They have tunnel vision. So with that established, when I am coaching somebody in the squat, I start them on high bar. And then if we're having issues, we might try low bar. So it really depends on the individual. If you find you really don't know and you're an experienced squatter and, you're torn, try them both. Do them every other week. Spend some time under the bar with both. See how they feel. Make adjustments. Get some form assessment from some other people. And then use your own personal choice. I love high bar squatting. When I do low bar squatting, it feels like my lower back is getting beat up. And you're talking to someone that can deadlift a lot. I'm a strong deadlifter. So you'd think my lower back would be able to handle it, but high bar squats do not feel good on my low back and mid back. So mileage may vary. KO Surge, how does your commitment coaching work? I want to join, but I only have a barbell weights, bench, and rack. I got my coaching services set up two ways. You can do $80 a month, and that's a 3-month commitment. Okay. Or you can pay $199 up front, and then there's no commitment after the first month. But if you stay on the second month, it's only 25% of that, or $49.75. I tailor my programming. I don't do any cookie cutter stuff. I build a workout based on what you have. And at any point in time, if that changes, you go to a different gym, you want a different program. I build new workouts for my clients constantly. So I give you what you need. I'm with you on a daily basis. If anybody's interested in coaching services, check out the link down below. We're actually trying to get Robert on board with coaching as well. So that's something me and Robert talk about. So we got to get Robert up to speed.
Yeah, KO Surge, you got more than enough to make some good results, man. Barbell, weights, bench, and rack, you're set. You can do a lot of damage with that stuff.
Yeah, man. I mean, if you give me barbell and body weight, that's plenty, right? That's plenty. If you throw a couple of good dumbbells in the mix, you're pretty much set, or even a kettlebell.
Mm-hmm.
Park McLean. Just wanted to say I enjoy you guys. I enjoy when you guys do a show. Always something new. Thank you for your support. I appreciate it. Andrew Best, how do you maintain strength during a short hiatus? A 2-week break after surgery cost me all kinds of strength. Robert, I'm going to let you go before I go on this one.
You maintain strength during a short hiatus. I mean, it usually takes a little bit longer than 2 weeks for strength levels to start dropping. I want to say the research shows somewhere in like the 3 to 6 week range. But it just look at it. Worrying about how much strength you're losing after a 2-week layoff is kind of wondering how much impact will lunch have on your ability to build muscle in a day. Look at it along a more global process. Take like a 50,000 foot view of your fitness journey. Okay, so you lose 50 pounds on your bench over the course of 2 weeks. If you're still 50 pounds off your bench, a year from now, we got some issues, or 6 months from now, we got some problems there that we need to start addressing. But, just ease back into it slowly, just start plugging your way back up to it. Take some time to eat really well, get some food in you. Maybe take a really good pre-workout if you need that too. But, don't get so mired down in like this short-term little setback you may have had because of the surgery. Get your body healed up and then just keep plugging away. You'll be back up and even stronger in no time.
I actually think, and I'm kind of swaying this way. I've read some of the stuff that Dr. Mike talks about, and I'm actually leaning this way. I think a couple 2 to 3 week breaks a year are probably a good thing just for general healing and recovery. Mm-hmm. So as far as strength loss, there's nothing you can do about it. Nothing. You could eat yourself into whale-like status during those 2 to 3 weeks to try to maximize, everything, because when you gain weight, you obviously it's not just all fat. That might help a little bit, but I don't want anybody to turn into a whale during a 2 to 3 week period away from the weight. So just know there's nothing you can really do. But there are upsides. Muscle memory is a real thing. Once you've been at a strength level, you'll get back there really, really quickly. Just understand that these sorts of things happen. It's a long journey. They're going to happen almost yearly. Okay? So just understand, no matter what you're doing in life, there's going to be setbacks, but know that you have the drive and determination. You've been there before. It'll come back quickly, and don't panic. It's just
there's a natural ebb and flow to where, as long as the long-term trend, this is what I was trying to get at. The long-term trend is you slowly going up. But, if you like zero in on like a specific 2 or 3 week block, it might be like a little dropping down, and then it'll go up and then drop down and continue up. So look at it from like a more global or long-term perspective. Don't worry about, just the week-to-week changes.
Yeah, I mean, to give you an example of something different, you guys know I've been running. We went out last weekend for my wife to celebrate her birthday, and we did kind of a birthday run hike. And one of the perils out there is roots and stumps. They'll take these bushes and then they'll lop off just the top, and they leave these little stumps out there that are like this. And you can't always see every one of them. But I kicked it really, really hard and thought I fractured my arch, and I couldn't walk for 2 days. And the point I'm trying to make here is that I entered a holding pattern where I can only do right now what my body gives, but I know that I have to ramp back up in speed when I can. So it's part of the journey. We can't always be top performance 365 days a year. So just hold tough and just be smart about things. The Drake Hitman, pendley rows versus barbell rows for back development. I'm going to lead with this. I'm a big fan of pendley rows. Barbell rows, I just feel like when they start to get challenging, it puts a little too much strain on the lower back. So people tend to get more and more upright as the rows get heavier. That doesn't mean you're not targeting the back. I just feel it's a little bit more stress on the lower back. I prefer pendley rows. As far as overall development, I don't think one has an advantage over the other. And whenever we get questions like this, my answer is invariably do both. Try both. Robert, what are your thoughts?
I would say neither. Face pulls are the key to back development.
Face pulls. All right. Thank you.
No, I agree with you, Steve. Do a mix. Pendley rows, barbell rows. Do the Meadows rows, like where you do it like almost like a landmine setup. Do a search for Meadows rows after John Meadows. Dumbbell rows are fantastic. Inverted rows, bodyweight rows are good. One-arm bodyweight rows, one-arm dumbbell rows are fantastic. Chest-supported rows, pull-ups, chin-ups, all good. Do them all.
Yeah, I mean, imagine you got a target before you, 20 yards in front of you, and you have a machete, some throwing knives, a bazooka, a midget, some dynamite. What is the best way to blow up that target? Don't just throw the midget at it or the throwing knives or the bazooka. Throw everything at it. That's the way I look at back development. Do everything. The barbell rows, the dumbbell rows, the seated cable rows, the lat pull downs, the pull-ups. Just hit it with the bazooka and the midget, if that makes sense.
Yeah, the back's got so many muscles. I mean, we say the back, but I mean, there's so many muscle groups that make it up, and the fibers are running all kinds of which ways on there. So you want a good variety of exercises in any training mesocycle to hit them from the different, angles and whatnot.
Yeah, I mean, back training is like the opposite to me of shoulder training. Shoulder training, you really got to get creative to hit the shoulder with different types of interesting movements. There are some out there, but it's not always as fun. Jermaine Tan, one of my clients, Konnichiwa from Japan. I hope I pronounced it okay. I think the monster drink is in full effect. I actually got 9 hours of sleep last night, so not bad.
It's a record breaker. I have not slept well at all this week.
Well, I won't lie. The lockdowns and the stress and having nothing to do, the stress has been a little bit too much this year, and we find ourselves, unwinding, watching too much TV at night or staying up a little bit later than normal. Not anything excessive, but if we stay up till 10:30 or 11, it's too late.
Yeah, and my parents were in town last week for my birthday, and I mean, it's they're in Louisiana, and so it was nice to catch up because I hadn't seen them in person since the beginning of 2020. But New Orleans was one of the early hotbeds, and that's almost all they wanted to talk about the whole time we were here. That or politics, and I don't want to spend my free time talking about that. And it was an enjoyable time with them, but at the same time, I mean, it's like, let's move on to another topic of conversation, or let's watch something to bring some joy, because the more negative energy you put out there, man, it seems like that it just doubles back in your face.
Yeah, and there's too many things out there right now that are fatiguing. Everybody is dealing with something everywhere they go. And like we can't go out to eat without wearing a mask. And like I can't, I have an airway issue where masks just bother the heck out of me. And it's like everywhere you go, there's something going on, whether it's this or someone on social media, like that 5-year-old boy, Connor, whatever, that was just riding his bike and got gunned down. There's people pushing racial issues. We got the politics in the mix. We got COVID. It's like, man, sometimes you just need a breather from all this.
Yeah.
Justin, I did not see an earlier comment, so if we missed something, please post it again. Spawn Baba, I like your opinion on things. Thank you. Hey, Robert, I'm going to go off topic here for a second before I jump into the next one, but video games. I forgot if you play video games, if you have any consoles, etc.
Yeah, I have a regular Nintendo, a Super Nintendo, a PlayStation 1, and a PlayStation 2. I haven't played any video games since. I don't have any of the modern day video game systems, but man, I love me some classic gaming consoles.
There's a new game out. Like I'm a big Rocket League guy. I love playing that game. But there's a new game out where there's like somebody tell me what this game is, because we just downloaded and played it the other night. It's kind of like an obstacle course game where you have like these 60 cartoon characters, and they got different things, and you're trying to go from point A to point B, and it's fun as heck. But I can't think of the name. I was going to recommend that to you, but I think what we need to do is put together a GoFundMe for Robert so we can get him a PlayStation 4.
Let's do it. The 5's coming out soon. We could just start the GoFundMe for that one. Steve, do you have a Twitch channel we can watch you live stream some games?
No, I only have a Pornhub channel, so I haven't gotten into Twitch yet. It's kind of a joke. I try to sneak in Pornhub every possible week. So it's just a joke, people, just a joke. Now everybody's going to be scrambling to see if they can find my Pornhub channel.
Steve and the dogs on Pornhub. That's what it's called. The Big Hairy Ugly Dog channel.
The dogs. All right. Thoughts. Here we go, Robert. Here's a good question. Thoughts on genetic testing for training and nutrition, like DNA Fit. I'm not familiar with DNA Fit. Have you heard anything about this, Robert?
I've heard of similar things about it. Not that exact program, but other things like it.
Is this like eating based on your
blood type, microbiome? Yeah, whatever your genetic markers have. If you have certain genes, certain foods might be better for you. Might be responding to training better. What these things are. I eventually I could see it having utility. I think the science of it is in such an early phase right now that it's not going to be reliable. Plus, this also isn't taking into account personal preference and what you actually enjoy as far as training and nutrition. So let's set you up with the most perfectly tailored, optimized training and diet program for your specific genome, for your specific genetic traits, your blood type, your neurological neurotransmitter makeup, and all of that stuff. Let's set you up with that. We tailor everything down to a T. It is perfect. You do this, you are going to build 20 pounds of muscle if you do this. Now, at the same time, let's just say we give you this perfectly tailored program. You fucking hate it. You half-ass your effort in the gym. You kind of stick to the diet, but you dread it more than off, and you're giving a half-hearted effort. Well, it doesn't matter how perfect and how optimal or how specifically tailored this training and nutrition program was based on your genetic makeup. If the effort isn't there, if the desire isn't there, if the motivation and the want isn't there, it doesn't matter. It's not going to matter, a whole hell of a lot. You've got to have the passion for it. And even a suboptimal training program will still get better results if you're busting your balls each day in the gym than I think something that is perfectly tailored to your physiology, but with lackluster effort and consistency.
Yeah, the body's an interesting thing because the physical and mental couldn't be too different. They can be vastly different, and that's a really good example. At the end of the day, something you might not be suited for physically, you might absolutely love to do, and because you love to do it, you're going to excel. What's a good example? Well, there's this painter on Facebook. This I don't know if how old she is, 8, 9, 11, whatever. I don't know where she's from, Chechnya or whatever, but she paints with her mouth. Like she's this handicapped individual, and she has to paint with a brush in her mouth. And she paints these beautiful, I believe it's her mouth, these beautiful things. So physically, she's not set up for it, but because it's her passion mentally, she excels. And that's a really good example. And one of the interesting dynamics about longevity for me, and Robert, I'd like to hear your thoughts about this because it kind of fits this argument, this discussion, is people have become obsessed with living longer, but mentally, could you stand to live to be 120 or 140? There's a degree of mental fatigue. You're tired of the bullshit. You're tired of the red tape. You're tired of paying bills. You're tired of paying taxes. Physically and mentally, you could set the body up to live for a very, very long time, but physically mentally could you tolerate it? Robert, you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I forget which exact podcast I was listening to, and this was probably 2 years ago now, but they said, the current estimates on the human body, just like physically, how long can it last, is around 120 years or so. Like that's assuming perfect, you never get cancer, you never have any other adverse effects to you, whatever. So like the human body can withstand maybe 120 years before it just taps out and says, I'm done. if you go through life without having super major setbacks, any debilitating disorders, things like that, or huge physical setbacks, if you lived on an island where the food was fresh, there were happy animals, you had sex every day, you were physically fit and physically active, and you had zero outside or mental stressors, psychological stressors, yeah, I think you could handle that. But I mean, especially with social media, and if you're a person that is tuned into social media a lot, or just the news, if you follow either of those things extensively, which I try to not do, I don't watch the daily news at all. I haven't ever. I saw my parents always watching it growing up, and it always seemed negative. Social media, I am very, 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 very limited on it. I don't do much of anything. Because I just think it contributes a lot of negativity. And, there's obviously some good things to it. You and I met through, I don't remember, I sent you an email several years ago. So if it wasn't for the internet, I wouldn't have my job now. I wouldn't have met you. So there are very good things from it. But I think for the average person, I think it contributes more negativity and stress than it does that. And with the amount of mental stressors that are going on, especially in 2020, I would not want to be 100 years old right now.
Well, this really, really is an interesting discussion because it speaks about what would it take for you to be able to live 200 years and not be mentally fatigued. And it's really quite challenging to think about the things, removing the stress from your life, the things that are like constantly battering your brain for attention. And a big lesson can be, I'm not going to keep rambling on this, but a big lesson can be learned. Mental health is such an important thing. More important, I would argue, than physical health, and the importance of pulling pieces out of your life, noise out of your life, so you can just go and do the things you enjoy doing.
Knowing when to say no is a valuable skill.
Pork meat. What's going on? Pork, the other white meat. Hello there, guys. What's going on? How much direct ab work would you recommend for someone doing all the big lifts in their training? Not much. Robert, I'll let you lead with this
one. 1 to 2 exercises that's going to work. Extension, flexion, anti-rotation. Some of those things. What are your goals? Do you want to have like a poppin' six-pack or something like that, like a bodybuilder that's stepping on stage, or a physique athlete? You're going to need to do some weighted cable crunches and things like that to improve muscle definition and size. I think if you're just like a general fitness enthusiast or like a weekend warrior athlete, amateur athlete, a couple sets at the end of your workout is going to be more than enough. Just the thing to do with ab training is figure out a way to progressively overload it, make it more difficult, because so often people will just do like 30 sit-ups at the end of their workout and say, all right, I'm good with that.
Right.
So it's just like any other muscle group. You've got to figure out ways to make it more challenging.
If you're just, if you're after strength, you want to maintain a degree of core strength and stability. If you're after hypertrophy, you probably have to push it a little bit because the abs are a smaller muscle group. So you probably have to get creative. Generally when I'm programming, I have 2 exercises a week, basically 6 sets, 4 to 6 sets. And I think in the grand scheme of things, if you're looking at programming from a whole, and how much you can fit in per body part per week, that's probably enough. You just want to make sure it's focused. Can you do more? Absolutely. But don't just do more volume. Have some focus on progression.
Yep.
The biggest problems with abs and calves and things like that is people don't attack progression on them like they would their chest. So if you're going to work your abs, do it with a purpose. Debanjan Chatterjee, how to get big arms up to 21 inch naturally, gain 100 pounds of fat. I mean, that's the honest truth. And we talk about this every week. Unless you have giantism, unless you're born 6'6" with 8-inch wrists, that does not happen unless you're well over 35% body fat. You will not find any natural under 20% body fat with arms like that. Somebody's going to come in the comments and say, I have 21-inch arms and I'm under 20% body fat. And I will say, you're not. You're underestimating your body fat. Any thoughts, Robert?
I would say look at the top natural bodybuilders that are on the planet. None of them have 21-inch arms. And those are like the genetic elite of natural bodybuilders, people that can push their bodies to the limit naturally. They're not getting 21-inch arms.
When I got into the industry, like Muscle and Strength and then Tiger Fitness, one of the things I really enjoyed, we'd have a lot of visitors come in, the Hodge twins, Massive Joe from Australia, uh, you know, uh, Mr. Olympias, Jay Cutler, Ronnie Coleman. One of the things I really enjoyed was doing a bicep shot next to them, just hanging it out there. The right arm, I'd always use my right arm and make them do their left arm because my right arm's bigger. Right. So, and their left arm's smaller. I'm not stupid. So, but there's only a couple guys and my arms are only like 17 and a half, 17 and 3/4 when I was, like 200 and close, pushing 250 pounds. And there's only a handful of people that beat me. Doug Miller, the Hodge twins, and the big Olympians. That's it. And my arms, my arms are not 18 inches. I've never seen a pair of 21-inch arms. Even guys that are competing in the Olympia, like Sean Clarita, the giant killer, my arms were the same size as his. So you're trying to ask how to be 3 inches bigger than guys competing at the Olympia, 2 inches bigger than guys competing at the Olympia. Ain't gonna happen unless you become big. You gain a lot of fat.
Yeah.
Pop at the door. Currently, all I do for chest is barbell bench and barbell incline. Any recommendations for exercises I should add? Variation. Dips, dumbbell work, maybe even a little bit of push-ups as burnout work, and maybe one isolation exercise, cable flies, pec deck, cable crossovers, dumbbell flies, something like that. Robert, any thoughts?
You crushed it. You said everything I was going to say.
Very simple. Use a variety. Let's see. Been on adventures. I do a lower upper, off lower upper. I work out at home. Oh, okay. So I'm glad you actually have heavy dumbbells at home because that's like an afterthought for so many people. We're so barbell obsessed that not a lot of people have dumbbells. Robert, you don't have a adjustable dumbbell set, do you? One of those things that you can just plug and play and pop it in and go from 50 to 70 or anything like that?
Yeah, I have power blocks. So they go from all the way from 5 pounds, which is just the handle, all the way up to 90 pounds when you've got the 2 adder weights and the lock. And so the set can be expanded up to 125 pounds if I get that strong enough. I mean, I could use that on leg moves, but I'm nowhere near pushing 125s on a dumbbell bench or an overhead press right now. Rowing, I could probably get to about 100. I mean, I've done 80s or 90s for a set of 6 or 8, but my pressing, it sucks compared to my pulling.
How quick are they for you to change from one weight to the other?
Oh, they're super quick. So you take the little selector pin. Oh, here, I'll just go grab it and I'll show it to you.
All right.
Mute Ben's comment for a second. I'll come right and show you.
Yeah, no problem. Sorry, we're going off topic, but we're going to talk about dumbbells and adjustable dumbbells. He's going to go grab his set. Just a reminder, guys, we usually stay on for about 2 hours. So please, if you have any comments, post them up. We get to your comments. If you want some good workouts, if you want coaching, you want some massive irons, T-shirts or whatever, head over to my website, superlivingtoday.com. I got a whole bunch of different T-shirt designs. I'm trying to put out a new workout every month that's quality. So here comes Robert. I can see those veins popping, carrying those suckers.
Whoop. All right. So this is what the power block looks like. I'm going to tilt this down like that. All right. So each of these guys right here is 10 pounds. Let me scoot this back. Oh, there we go. All right, so each of those right there is 10 pounds. You put the power block in it like that. And all you have to do is swap this out. So there's 20 pounds right there.
Gotcha.
It's 30 pounds right there. And then if you want to switch it into like 27 and a half or 10 pounds, it's got these two little these little adder weights. Each of these is 2.5 pounds.
Gotcha.
And then that's the little thing in the middle that goes in there, and you just put it in there. And so you can swap it in like that. And it takes all of 10, 15 seconds.
That's pretty ingenious. I've been debating getting something like that because it's such a pain in the ass to just swap out standard plates even when you have 2 sets of dumbbells.
Yeah, and I've had these. I got these when the fitness store in Louisiana was going out of business. So I won't say like 2013, 2014, and they're still basically in pristine condition. And they go up. Usually the set comes, I think, standard to 50 or 70 pounds. It comes standard to 70 pounds. And so I got the U90, which is the extra 20 pounds add-on up to the 90-pound weights.
Yeah, I mean, if anybody's shopping for those, I would almost recommend you need to go to 90s, because if you're going to do dumbbell bench, you need to at least get to 90s, or else you're not going to have that maximum mass.
Right.
I keep around a 24-inch spin lock just for dumbbell rows, so I can get them up to 200. But
yeah. Now the only thing that gets awkward a little bit is that they get super wide. Like, I don't know if we can back this out enough to where, but I mean, this thing is
we have
wide.
The Ronnie Coleman dumbbells, the 200-pound dumbbells at the power station. And to get those on your legs are a challenge, because you have to kind of swing them forward when you're standing up, because they're so long. They're almost difficult at 200 pounds to get them in front of your thighs, to swing them in front of your thighs. And it sounds ridiculous to talk about, but it's actually really, really true. All right, 21-inch arms. He's going to tell you eat a lot of food. Park McLean predicted the future. How do you all feel about training shoulders after a chest workout? I've seen 4-day splits, 6-day splits. I'm going to share my thoughts, and then I'll let Robert jump in. I actually had a new client tell me kind of, I was an idiot for programming the way I'm about to tell you. And I dropped that new client. And since then, he's actually made like 10 troll accounts on YouTube trying to tell me what of an idiot I am. But such is life. You can't please everybody. But when I'm doing chest and shoulders, one day I'll lead with chest, and then I'll do a shoulders exercise. So I'll do chest, shoulders, chest, and shoulders. This is just the way I do it. The next day I'll do shoulders, chest, shoulders, and chest. So I'll prioritize chest one day. I'll prioritize shoulders another day. I think that's a stupid, simple way of doing it. Robert, any thoughts?
No, I think that's probably the safest way to do it. If you're going to try to train your shoulders immediately after a chest day, I would think there's going to be some fatigue already induced in the shoulders, just because the anterior delts are going to be involved in some degree or another with every kind of horizontal push that you're doing. So, I mean, if your shoulder workout consisted nothing of like laterals, bent over back flies, face pulls, stuff like that, yeah, you could technically do shoulders the day after a chest workout, as long as you're not targeting like the anterior delts. But I like your setup much better, Steve.
Well, what I typically do is I have the big hitters. On one day I have the barbell bench press or barbell bench press variation, incline, whatever. The other day I have the military press. And when I follow those with dumbbell variations of the opposite. So I'll start with barbell bench, and then I'll do seated dumbbell overhead press, but I do it for more reps. So we're dropping the intensity a little bit because you're already a little bit fatigued, if that makes sense.
Perfect sense.
Quinn Boone, thanks you for your no-nonsense info. Learning much from you guys. Thank you. And I want to remind you guys, Robert is the supplement engineer, a supplement expert. So if you have any supplement questions and you want no bullshit about what you're taking right now, what's worth it, please post a question up. You're not going to get better information than you're going to get from Robert. With the Zercher, substitute the back squat. The Zercher is a unique beast, okay? The Zercher places a lot of stress on your elbows, on the inner inside of your forearms, the bend of your arms, right? It also places a lot more stress on your lower back and mid back. It's a strength exercise, but I would say it's one of the least leg-centric exercises when it comes to a back squat replacement. So I don't like it as a quad exercise. Robert, any thoughts?
Yeah, if you don't have a rack, sure, it could be a good, fill in until you can get a rack, or you could do something like landmine squats or something like that, or landmine hack squats. I would almost prefer either of those versus the Zercher squat. I prefer, if you're trying to look for like an alternative to a back squat, if you don't have a squat rack or you don't feel safe or your safeties are kind of janky and you don't feel safe just doing it by yourself, swap in like split squats, landmine squats, landmine hack squats, landmine lunges, stuff like that.
There's going to be some of you out there that can, your lower back can handle it. Somebody might say, well, you can just do a lot of reps on Zerchers. And I think your lower back is going to have a tendency to give out before your legs. Some of you will handle that better than others, so it might be a viable alternative. If you're going to go that route at home, I would do some pre-fatigue on your quads, lunges, body weight squats, Bulgarian split squats, whatever. Do some pre-fatigue goblet squats, and then jump over and superset like Zerchers.
Yeah.
In that case, I would probably do some pre-fatigue, rest up for 10 to 15 seconds, catch my breath a little bit, and then jump over to Zerchers. So just some ideas. How do you warm up with dumbbells for dumbbell bench press, shoulder press before a working set? Good questions. When the weight starts at 80s. Most of my dumbbell bench and barbell stuff starts at 80s. So what I typically do is 25-ish, 25s to 30s for 10 reps. And then I jump up to like 50s for 5s. And then maybe 65s for 2 to 3, and then the big set. So when I'm doing that, I usually do 3 warm-up sets. You're doing 25 by 20, 50 by 20. No. You're fatiguing your muscle. Warm-ups, you want to get blood into the muscle and you want to activate the central nervous system. You don't want to fatigue the muscle. So you're doing way too many reps. I would do something like 25 by 10, maybe 45 by 5, maybe 65 by 3, and then gun it. Robert, any thoughts?
No, you drove home that last point. Was the thing I was going to say. There's too much junk volume in there with the 25 by 20s and then 50 pounds by 20 reps. You don't need to do that many on a warm up set. That's just you're inducing excessive fatigue. That's not paying much dividend into actual hypertrophy.
All right, Chaos Surge. I think Ripito is just an old man stuck in his old ways. I don't like to turn things into, bash sessions, but I will say that there's very few people in the industry that are like one way and deal with it, and Mark doesn't like the hex bar, trap bar, doesn't like this week. He was talking about how T-bars are basically useless. There's so many things Mark does not like. The average lifter, like you and I, we're so much detached from what he's teaching, what his world is, that if I'm coaching a football player, the Ripito method's probably the best method, right? And so many people came to me this week and said, well, he coaches novices. If you're coaching a novice, then the Ripito method's not the best method, because you're just making big fat pigs that just pound gonads and just do barbell exercises. It's not the best for the average novice. If I'm trying to train a football player, me personally, I'm going to focus him on barbell and dumbbell compound movements and gaining weight so he can gain muscle rapidly and gain weight rapidly. So there would be opportunities where I train somebody more like Ripito, but very, very rarely, and it'd probably be sports specific, and it'd probably be some big hulking dude that weighs 210 that has a potential to be a college lineman and needs to get his big caboose up to like 270 to 280, if that makes sense.
Yep.
So that's it. Can you review the video of Alexander Sedek breaking both? Somebody posted this yesterday as a comment, and I didn't get a chance to watch it. He broke both knees while attempting a 400-kilogram squat. Have you heard of this, Robert? Have you seen the video?
I heard of it. I have not seen the video. That sounds really, really painful. I've seen a couple of things of like guys shattering their femurs and knees on leg presses, going too heavy on that, and Man, 900 plus squat. I don't know if I really want to watch that.
I mean,
it's gonna be gruesome.
It's something I've talked about before. Like, when people would ask me, when I was doing frequency training with squats, they'd ask, what's it like doing squats with 600 pounds on your back multiple times a week? And I would often say, at any point in time, something really bad could go wrong. Really, really bad. And, the perspective isn't there because the average lifter doesn't really understand what I mean by that. But it's like this. Even if you're really strong, there's different systems in the body. And if one of those systems isn't locked and loaded for that day perfectly, something very, very bad can happen because it's still a lot of weight, even if you're strong. And if something bad happens, you're in deep, deep trouble. So I'd be curious to check out the video. I had one lifter once that he was doing a sumo deadlift and tore both quads at the same time. Very, very experienced lifter. So, Robert, are you able to see the video at all?
I'm pulling it up right now. CBSSports.com, OMD Sports on YouTube. Oh, Jesus. Here we go. All right. 50 seconds long.
I don't even know if we want to watch it. So I was going to put it up here, but do you have the link, Robert?
Yeah, I'm watching it. Your boy's about to go for it right here.
All right. I'm not going to put the link up because
you want me to share my screen and we can all watch it live?
Depending on how gruesome it is. How bad is it?
I don't know. Let me give me 20 seconds.
All right. Robert's watching the video.
Okay. He just lifted it off the pins.
Okay.
He's stepping back.
We'll watch how bad Robert winces. Nah, we ain't gonna watch it. All right, moving on. Nah. All right, best exercise. No, we're not gonna watch it. Robert was watching the squat of Alexander Sedek breaking both knees. I don't even.
Holy shit!
I'm good.
Holy shit!
KO says best exercise to work to a pull-up. The best, if you can't do pull-ups, the best exercise is pushing away from the plate, to be honest with you. I mean, getting your body weight down, because that'll really help. There's a lot of magical programs out there to increase your pull-ups. But really, I think frequency. If you can do 1 or 2 or 3, you really got to take frequency seriously. I have a program. I've made videos about this before about doing pull-ups for frequency. But Robert, do you have any thoughts on increasing your pull-ups other than losing weight and doing them more frequently?
Yeah, chin-ups will help with that. Also doing inverted rows, either pronated grip, wide, or supinated. You need to get used to controlling your body in space. So even though you could maybe do 200 pounds or do the entire stack on lat pull downs, doing that motion is very different than being able to move your body through space and pull yourself up to a bar. You can also try, so inverted rows are technically a horizontal pull, but it's getting you used to moving your body through space. Pull-ups are purely vertical. What you can do is offset some of the loading and do something called an Australian pull-up, which is basically where you're hanging from the pull-up bar. You can set yourself up in a Smith machine or a power cage or something like that, squat rack or something. Put the bar maybe to where you're sitting on the ground and your body's hinged at the hip. So your ass is on the ground, your legs are out in front of you, and your arms are fully extended up this way. And this way, so you're only having to move 50, 60% of your body weight. And you pull yourself up like that. And then as you gain strength, you can start bringing your legs in closer to you. And then eventually you take your legs off and you're pulling yourself up entirely off the ground. So it's a way to kind of gradually work your way into being able to handle moving your entire body weight up into there. You can also do negatives to where you grab the pull-up bar, jump up, hold yourself as long as you can, and then take 3 to 5 seconds to lower all the way down, come down to the ground, reset, jump up, do negatives, do 5 to 6 reps of that, do 3 to 5 sets of that. you're going to be really fucking sore after you do that the first couple of times. But I mean, that's another way to get used to controlling your body through the range of the motion to pull up, and that'll help you build some strength too, because you're stronger during the eccentric phase of the movement.
Yeah, it's some really good advice, Robert. Some stuff I've not heard before. If you can do neutral grip pull-ups at your gym, you'll probably be able to do more neutral grips than you can regular pull-ups. So I would check those out. I would also recommend using Versa grips, some kind of grip assist, so you're not relying on your grip, you're relying on your pull. And any little thing would help. Excuse me. Let's see. We got that one by Jermaine. Fall Guys. Fall Guys is absolutely, excuse me, the name of the game, and it's a lot of fun. John's wearing a sexy Massive Iron t-shirt. You can find those over at superlivingtoday.com. It adds +5 to strength and +6 to weaponsmithing. I think it one-ups other channels in that sense. All right, Fall Guys. Yep, that's it. All right, guys, keep the questions coming. What do we got here? Polar Ball 20,000. Many foods I see list net calories. A pasta I found has 100 net calories, but 200 total calories, minusing the fiber. Which number do I track? Robert, go.
I would say just be consistent. Whichever one you choose, it doesn't really matter. What really matters is your consistency with tracking, because all nutrition facts labels, all supplement facts panels are allowed tolerance probably within like 10 to 20%. So even your candy bar, your protein bar, it says 220 calories. It could really be as high as like 250 calories or as low as 180 calories. The key thing is just to be consistent. So if you're going to log it as 200 calories in your daily planner, always go by 200 calories. Don't just go flip-flopping back and forth between the thing. Same thing I would almost say with like net carbs in food. Like, I don't know if it was Atkins or whatever one of the fad diets started advertising the net carbs thing, where you subtract total carbs, or subtract the fiber from the total carbs. Just always go with the total carbs. It makes things simpler. Keep consistent throughout it the entire way, and you can adjust from that. You can scale up or scale down the portion sizes as your weight fluctuates throughout the weeks.
Thanks, Robert. Jermaine says, makes a lot of sense. Thank you. It was a good question. Mega D's, which rep range is better for barbell curls? 4 to 6 or 10 to 15? 8 to 12. That's, better. If I don't like low rep barbell curls, because I feel you're forcing your hands not to be in a natural position. Forcing your hands to be in this position places a lot of stress on your elbows and your shoulders. And if you're going to do that for lower rep sets, I'm not really a fan of that. I'd rather see you doing that with a little bit less intensity. Could you do a set of 6 rep curls? Absolutely. You're not going to die. But I would make the bread and butter 8 to 10, 8 to 12. And if you want to do some finishing sets with 15 reps, absolutely. Robert, any thoughts on that? The barbell is a very unique exercise. And, it's one that's kind of fallen out of fashion. You don't see a lot of people putting it into programs anymore.
I guess because we got dumbbells, easy bars, kettlebells, cables, all of that stuff. It's just, and I think a lot of people experience either wrist pain or elbow pain since you're locked into a fixed pass and you don't have that freedom, that range of motion to go through. So, it'll work for some people. It will work for everybody. Maybe not, but it's a valuable exercise. I don't like going below 6 reps on isolation movements. I don't even really like going below 8 reps on isolation work.
Yeah, once you move beyond the big hitting compound barbell exercises, dipping below 8 reps, I think that's one of the main issues people have with like triceps exercises, that they do a lot of lower rep stuff, and it tends to beat up their elbows.
Yeah.
Drake Hitman, would you think vaping has any effect on training? Vaping is basically just nicotine. I'm not sure, what it does to the lungs is very debatable. There was some information a couple of years ago that basically made it look like it was turning your lungs into cottage cheese and all this kind of stuff. But that sort of fear mongering has, I believe it's backed off. We aren't hearing much of that anymore. That could be because of all the other stuff going on in the world. Do you know anything about current science on vaping?
No, I know my wife's school had a huge campaign against it because one of the kids was selling vaping sticks and stuff like that to some of the other students. And they put out some of the science showing how deleterious it was to lung tissue, but I'm not current on it. I've never smoked anything, cigarette, cigar, marijuana, anything. I've never had any interest in doing it. Um, at best, it's going to have no effect. At worst, it is deteriorating your lung tissue and it's going to impair your ability to breathe.
Yeah, so just know that the jury's not out. This is something that we could wake up 20 years from now and be like, boy, were we really stupid. So that's not saying that will happen. That's saying that anytime we're doing anything, we're putting anything into the body that we aren't 100% sure of. Is it a better alternative than smoking? It seems like it. But are you going to start pulling water in your lungs or whatever, and damaging your lungs in new and ingenious ways? It's yet to be seen. So just be careful. Scott, Hulk Hogan always claimed to have 24-inch arms. I think he meant in length. Yeah, it's no different than penis size. Everybody in the world has a 9-inch dick. Until you look at actual penis size statistics. One of the beautiful things about being in health and fitness, and we're going to go in the Pornhub world here, but, doing a commission, as an editor, I was interested in science and physiology and mental health and things like that. And, I commissioned an article once to talk about sexual health, to talk about men's issues. And somewhere in that article, we had a table on penis size, okay? And the average penis size, was like 5.5 inches for the Caucasian male, 5.6 inches for the African-American male. I think the biggest penis size was like one of the South American countries. It wasn't Brazil. It was, I don't know. But like the whole claim, of like arm size, I equate that to dick size. That's basically where I'm going. Or bench press. Like everybody in the world has a 9-inch dick and a 315-pound bench press until you pull back the covers or you go train with them in person, right? So yeah, that's about it. Jonathan Taylor, does it hurt your back or knees?
Steve, you actually wait. Hold on. Let's go back to the previous question.
Yeah,
I was the one that wrote that article. I thought because when you started talking about it,
what it was, I've commissioned a couple.
Yeah.
I made
the truth about penis size and sexual performance. I just pulled it up.
Yeah, I couldn't remember. If I wrote it, who I commissioned it to.
All right, so I'll read a paragraph from the study. It says, according to the study, the average erect penis length is 5.16 inches, while the average circumference is 4.59 inches. Average measurements of flaccid male members was 3.61 inches and 3.66 inches around. Other interesting metrics from the study: no correlation between testicle size and penis size, no relationship between weight and penis size, no significant difference between penis size and race. 5 out of every 100 men has an erect penis longer than 6.3 inches.
Only 1 in 20. So there you have it. Yeah.
There's some other disturbing statistics about sex. Only 45% of people have sex more than a couple times a month.
Yeah,
these are married couples.
Some really disturbing sexual statistics, but
yeah.
I couldn't remember. I knew we put together something at some point,
Go search Tiger Fitness, penis size and sexual health, and you'll find my article.
Yeah. Well, it might sound silly and people might be laughing, at why we did such a thing, but I think it's good to have a realistic opinion, because mental health, we're talking about this earlier, is such a big issue. And, in days past, women were the targets, the sole targets, basically, of, body standards and ideal standards. But now, you go on to any of the infinite amount of porn sites, and, it's every male out there feels inferior when the reality is much different than what you're seeing on video. Enough about that. Jonathan Taylor, does it hurt your back or knees? I'm not sure what you're referencing, Jonathan. Perhaps the Zercher squat. The Zercher squat never hurt my knees because my back gave out long before. My back felt punished, especially my mid-back, long before my knees took any issues. Pablo Motos Terrin, prowler for conditioning. Yeah, it's all right. I mean, it's an expensive piece of equipment for conditioning, but if you have it at your gym, absolutely.
Yeah, and it's also maybe one of the less damaging forms of conditioning because it's all concentric. There's not really any eccentric to it, so that'll have less, I guess, wear and tear versus some other kind of cardio conditioning modalities.
I've used the prowler. It bores the living heck out of me. If you like it, go ahead. You know, when it comes to conditioning work, do what you like. You know, do what you want to do every week. Don't feel forced to do one form of conditioning work because somebody else likes it.
Correct.
See, ever mess with Pavel's training methods? Basically 3 to 6 reps with your 10 rep max. Pavel has a lot of interesting training methods. I like interesting approaches because we can learn things from them. But specifically using his methods, no. I cherry pick information from everybody else and kind of try to figure out how I can piece it together in my own dynamic. Robert, I'm not sure if you're familiar with Pavel at all. If you have any thoughts on him in general.
Yeah, I think that is mostly in regards to strength training, not specifically hypertrophy. Because I think if we're only doing 3 to 6 reps with a 10 rep max, that's leaving us somewhere in the neighborhood of, 4 to 7 reps left in reserve, which isn't going to be enough to, maximize the muscle building possibilities. So you'd have to get closer to failure. But I think as far as a strength development and a skill acquisition thing, I think it's a solid approach to do it.
Yeah, I have no issues with it. I mean, back in the day, there was an article on basically doing 8x3s and 10x3s, and that basically was a revision of Hepburn's method.
Yeah.
Doing volume with reps. I'm not sure what your 10 rep max would be. I don't have a 1 rep max calculator. Let me just pull it up real quick. You guys be patient here for a second. 1 rep max calculator. There's one I use a lot when I'm doing programming for peaking for powerlifting. And let's see here. Let's say your bench press is 300 pounds. Your 10 rep max would be about 75%. So if you're going to be doing 75%, I would probably start with a 10x3. I got some clients that I did a 10x3 on. It's very, very tedious. Mm-hmm. But, I would rather see you doing an 8x3 or a 6x6 or something like that. Because the more sets you get, it just gets tedious. It really gets tedious. So it's definitely a good way to train. If you can tolerate 8x3, 10x3, go for it. I'd rather see you doing 6x6, 7x6, something a little bit more palatable. Don't do 5s because I hate 5s, as everybody knows. Don't do your 5s. Just humor, folks. How to overcome a bench press plateau. This is a book in itself, kind sir. This is a book in itself. Too many questions that I would have for you. And this is a huge red flag right here. I can't bench more than 100 pounds, but I can deadlift 450 and squat 370. I got to tell you, Kamala, I've never heard of that before. I'm not sure if you're trolling. And I'm not being dismissive, but that doesn't pass the smell test at all. If you're that physically weak in your upper body, there's no way you should be able to deadlift 350 or squat 370. So that would be like one of the world's most unique set of problems, variables. I'd have to look at that. Again, I don't know if you're trolling or serious, because that's a pretty big deadlift for a bench of only 100 pounds. And I'm not being dismissive of your bench, but I've never seen anything like that in my life. Robert, any thoughts?
No, you are the bench expert here, Steve. I've got nothing to add here.
Yeah, I got nothing. I'd have to look under the hood to make sure you're not,
Yeah, we need video or something to see what's going on.
trolling us, because that doesn't smell right. No disrespect if you aren't trolling us. Nedpad, I like back squats, but hypothetically, if you were not to do it, would the barbell hack squat, deadlifts, and reverse lunges work as a replacement? If you look, the first thing you got to look at is I don't like the attitude of trying to get out of hard stuff. That's not me. That's not what I'm about. That's not the path to success in anything in life. Lifting, writing, career. I hate it. It's weakness. It's weakness. It's weakness. It's a cancer. Okay? So you're adding the hypothetically on there to make yourself feel more secure about the decision. Chop that hypothetically off there, okay? Drop the insecurity. Some tough love here. You don't want to do back squats, that's fine. You don't have to do back squats. You better bust your big cojones. Like, all right, let's back up a little bit. Not everybody wants big legs, right, Robert? Not everybody's after monster legs. Okay.
Correct.
But if your goals are to be big and strong, you're going to have to do other leg exercises that are very, very intense. So deadlifts are not going to give you big legs. Barbell hack squats, I doubt it. Reverse lunges are a good finisher or supplementary exercise, but there are some pieces of the puzzle that are missing there. Leg presses, hack squats, Bulgarian split squats, so many leg exercises that are better. All right, I've had enough rambling. Robert, what do you think?
No, you nailed it all. I would say other exercises that you could add to it: front squats, landmine front squats, double front rack kettlebell squats. If you can find some like super heavy ass kettlebells like that, and I mean it's basically a front squat minus the barbell. If you just don't want to deal with a barbell, leg presses, yes. Bulgarian split squats, get massively strong with those. If you can knock out a set of 10 reps of that, holding half your body weight in each hand for like 3 to 5 sets, you're going to have some pretty strong, pretty big legs. And not like the little bouncing Insta Fit model reps that you see on social media all the time where they're like just bing, bing. I'm talking like 2 to 3 seconds lowering down, pausing in the bottom and pushing back up. You can do that, holding half your body weight in each hand. You're going to have decent sized legs.
To be fair, and I don't want to sound like I'm being hard on him because he's a frequent commenter, but there are some clients I have that I don't program squats in and I don't program deadlifts in because their goals are different, and that's fair. But whoever I'm programming for, I need to give them the next best challenging exercise. Yeah. Because there's no point in doing resistance training if you're not getting stronger. The whole point of doing resistance training is to get you stronger so you have a better quality of life. It can also benefit you from a health marker standpoint. But if you're not getting stronger on strength training, you might as well be doing ballet dancing or air punching or whatever, because it's an inefficient way to burn calories. So strength training exists to build strength. That's not detached from that. If you can't do back squats, you really have to find some exercises that are good, or else you're just wasting your time doing a lot of extra fluff.
Yeah.
All right. Can you talk about maintaining muscle while cutting? How training might change? I'm going to let you lead here, Robert.
Maintaining muscle while cutting. First off, make sure you're consuming enough protein each day. Since your body is going to be and a little bit more prone to catabolism, muscle protein breakdown, since you're in a calorie deficit, you've got to make sure you're consuming enough protein, somewhere in the range of 1 to 1.2 grams per pound per day. Also, the signal that your body gets from resistance training is going to be slightly weaker since you're in a negative energy balance as well. So you got to make sure you're still hitting the weights regularly. Don't change your training. Don't switch to like super high reps or a bunch of cardio stuff. You still need to hit your training is basically going to stay the same as it was when you were in maintenance or bulking. You may not be able to handle as much volume, but the intensity is still going to need to be there. You're still going to need to push your muscles to a high level of fatigue in order to keep giving your body that signal that, hey, I need to hold on to this lean muscle tissue, because muscle is metabolically expensive for the body to hold on to. So if, use it or lose it kind of mindset. If you're in a cutting thing and you're not consuming enough protein, you're not training hard, your body's going to dump that muscle because it's not going to need it. It's going to seek to preserve life, and things that are non-essential, it's going to be more prone to get rid of those first. So consume enough protein, sleep well, limit stress, and crush your training sessions.
Yeah, I mean, maintaining muscle, you want to increase probably your protein intake a little bit. And sorry, I was distracted for a minute because I'm preparing for another question.
Mm-hmm.
You want to increase your protein intake a little bit. Worst case scenario, if your energy's in the shitter, you probably want to pull back your volume a little bit on the compound movements. But if you could do maybe 2 sets instead of 3 instead of 4, but do it with the same degree of intensity. You don't want to do weight above 85% when you're cutting, because your strength could go down. A lot of things going on in the body, you're going to increase risk of injury. So I hope that helps some. Yep. Thoughts on hip thrusts. I'm just going to share my opinion. And, you guys, I have clients that like hip thrusts. I hate them. I hate them. I think for 2 reasons. I think there are better uses of your time in the gym. More bang for your buck exercises, in my opinion. And number 2, the amount of weight I'd have to load up to do a hip thrust that was challenging, loading the weight would be harder for me than doing the exercise. So for those 2 reasons, I'm not a fan. How about you, Robert?
Yeah, I know they've kind of caught wildfire, kind of like Faceballs did. So thanks to a lot of the work of like Brett Contreras, because he's the glute guy and stuff. Does it have some utility if you are struggling to bring up your glutes, or you don't get a good training effect from squats or hip hinges or anything like that? Yeah, you could make an argument for that. And it loads it in a different vector than squats, deadlifts, RDLs, all of those things do, or the cable pull throughs. They have utility. It's not something I'm going to make as a cornerstone lift in any training program I design or I do myself, unless there's a significant deficiency in glute strength.
Yeah, I have no issues against them. I generally tend to recommend Dimmel deadlifts more than I would hip thrusts, because they're easier to set up, not as tedious. But if you like them, do them. Just do them seriously and do them with progressive overload. You can do a lot of weight with those, and they can get really, really tedious really quickly. I'm going to share the screen on this because we're back to Kamala, who says he weighs slightly over 130. He was deadlifting 470 or 450 and squatting 370. So I'm going to screen share a minute, okay?
That almost seems
okay. So let me get our ugly faces off here, and let me get can I get the banners and branding off here? That's gone. All right. And I'm gonna see if I can get his question off here as well, because I really want to dive into this just for a second. Where is it? Okay. So this gentleman weighs over 130. So you can see up here, I got 132. Can you see the little mouse moving? He says he weighs over 130. So I got 132, which is reasonable. This is openpowerlifting.org rankings. Okay, rankings. Top rankings. Now I got, if you're deadlifting 450, squatting 370, that's 820. 920 would be your total. And your total obviously would not be in the top 200, okay? But when we look at deadlift only, if you're deadlifting 450, you would be like in the top 50 in the world, okay? Can you guys see this one I got highlighted here? Down here, 450. You're top 40 in the world if you're deadlifting 450, which isn't impossible. It's a really, really strong deadlift. Now, if we look at squats, where would you be with a 370 squat? A 370 squat, you're like top 10 in the world, So basically, you're looking at somebody 130 pounds, your top 40 in the world in deadlifts, your top 10 in the world in squats, and your bench press, you don't bench press what a woman bench presses, and that's not being disrespectful, okay? So what I'm trying to show here is if those numbers are legit, something is really broken with your upper body strength, and I would have to look at it because it's very rare where a male has the upper body strength to hold that weight on their body and squat, pull that weight off the ground, and not have at least 175, 200-pound bench press. So something smells wrong. I think your squats, my guess is your squats are higher than Snoop Dogg. No disrespect, but I would bet a good sum of money your squats are higher than Snoop Dogg. I would love to see that deadlift, though. You can message me on Instagram at Ben the Barman, at Ben the Barman, at Ben the Barman, and we'll dive into that a little bit. All right, Scott McEarleen. I'll take some of the pull-up tips. I can do one and no more. The inverted rows sound like it'll help big time. Try the neutral grip pull-ups as well. Tower puncher. I hope that is a 5G tower. Any tips to manage blood glucose levels? I'm in my early 30s, obese, and have type 2 diabetes. Robert, I'm going to let you lead with this, and I'm going to share some thoughts.
The biggest thing you can do right now is get your eating squared away, start exercising regularly, and drop that excess body fat. That is the main things you got to do to that. I mean, yeah, I could say a supplement like berberine or something, which has been shown to be as effective as metformin. But if you're already type 2 diabetic, chances are you're already taking insulin or some other kind of drug. You early 30s, obese and diabetic, you got to get your lifestyle factors in order, my man. Clean up the crap out of your diet. Start exercising regularly. Just going even on long walks during the day. Get up and do several 10-minute walks during the day. That'll have far more impact on blood sugar levels than anything else. Exercise and diet.
Tower puncher, what I'm about to say to you comes from me, who was a type 2 diabetic, somebody that almost was at high risk of dying from type 2 diabetes just because my liver was in such bad shape, my fatty liver disease. You need to understand, first and foremost, I'm going to talk about foods in a second, but first and foremost, if you do make it to a good old quality, amount of years in your life, you face, number one, neuropathy. A very high percentage of type 2 diabetics pick up neuropathy, which is numbness in their limbs, usually their legs, etc. I believe the statistic is that 60,000 people a year that have neuropathy lose a limb. Which doesn't seem like a big number, but when you start to piece together the statistics, it's pretty harrowing. Once you get neuropathy, it doesn't go away. There's no turning back the clock. I've had clients with neuropathy, and my best advice for them is to fight because you face limb loss. And if you don't think that's real, I got two people in my family, a cousin that's equally as old as I am, and he doesn't have his legs below the knees from diabetes. And I got a closer family member that's facing it as well. So that's an urgent issue. You're in your early 30s. If you don't turn this around, you're facing a lot of really bad things really quickly. You need to wake up tomorrow to have today be your last day. But tomorrow when you wake up, white sugar, white flour doesn't exist. Processed food doesn't exist. Fast food doesn't exist. All you see are meats, fruits, vegetables, healthy fats, real foods. And find a way to cook them. Yep. And if you think it's impossible, I did that for 2 straight years. 2 straight years I didn't cheat. And I felt a world better, just much better. So that's what you got to do. That's what you got to do. You don't have to be as extreme as I do. You can have balance in your life, but you need to understand a lifestyle change is due. If not, you're going to have to pay the price. Dan Lee, any cues for the barbell tricep extension skull crushers? I can't seem to feel the long head stretch on the way down nor contract on the way up. The biggest thing I have when it comes to skull crushers is don't bring it down here to your skull. Let it ride back here. So you get a little bit of elbow rotation and extension, okay? Another tip I have, and one of my clients asked me why I recommend this, because it feels better for me and most of my clients. A lot of times we'll keep our elbows in, okay? Let your elbows open up more naturally. Just let them open naturally. Don't force a position. Keep the position natural. That seems to take some stress off the elbows. Don't worry about feeling a muscle. Worry about getting stronger. Robert, any thoughts?
Yeah, I was going to say, work on that rolling or that rocking tricep extension. So like you said, Steve, so let it, dip back behind your head and then come forward. That'll help put a little bit longer stretch on the long head. But I mean, all three heads of the tricep are going to be working no matter what. It's just overhead movements accentuate that because the long head of the tricep attached to the scapula, and you have to get the arm up and overhead to get the thing fully stretched. But any tricep movement, all three of the heads are going to be working in unison to move the weight. So you're not going to be able to isolate just the long head of the tricep on it. You can get a bigger stretch on it, but you're not going to be able to isolate it and get rid of the other two heads of the tricep. So it's focus on doing that rolling thing, slow controlled movement, and then explode on the way up. And then maybe try messing with your grip. So if you want to do maybe try an easy bar instead, or dumbbells with a neutral grip could work, or you could even try like a reverse grip like this or a pronated grip. Just experiment with different things to see what happens. And also maybe even try doing it unilaterally. So grab a dumbbell or kettlebell or whatever, or a cable, and just, palpate, touch the muscle, touch the long head of the tricep or just your triceps in general to see, do you have a good mind muscle connection going on right there?
I got a video I'm trying to get up right now, so hold on just a second. I'm going to try to get this on and share this. That's one of the beautiful things about this wonderful platform. Let me get it over here. Let me get that up. And let's see if we can share this sucker. Share this sucker. All right, so it's got some weird recommended video. Whoops, share screen. Hang on there, folks. Okay, so any cues on skull crushers? This is something I do called the skull destroyer. I generally recommend my clients do 2 sets of 40. Can you see the video okay, Robert?
Yep.
So what I generally do is I'll do 3 sets of skull crushers or lying tricep extensions, and then 3 sets of close grip bench, I call it, right? And I alternate back and forth until I get to 40 reps. If you can't feel the long head of your triceps, try this variation and see what you think, okay? So you're going to do 1, nice and controlled. I might do 2 here. Sometimes I do 2 and 2. So I'm doing 2 and 2 here. You can do 2 and 2. See how my elbows open a little bit? I let them naturally open. So I do 2 and 2, nice and controlled, not rushing it. And I go to 40 total reps. And the little bit of, you're like, oh, that's a pretty weak close grip bench. The cumulative fatigue you're experiencing really will crush those triceps. You'll feel it in the long head of the triceps. So I recommend giving that a try as a good alternative or variation to just a regular skull crusher. So I hope that wasn't too long and winded of an answer. All right, let's see where we're at again. All right, cigarette smoking have an effect on training. Yes, the biggest effect is that you'll knock years off your life and you won't be able to train when you're older. Your breathing, look, I was in occupational health for 5 years. One of my areas of specialty was hearing, and one of my areas of specialty was pulmonary function testing. So hearing testing, believe it or not, I've performed over 50,000 hearing tests in my life. Pulmonary function tests, probably 2,000 to 3,000. I would go to factories and I would test these guys yearly as part of OSHA's plan, but I could read a pulmonary function test like a fingerprint, and I could tell who was a smoker because of reduced lung capacity. So smoking has a definitive impact on your ability to breathe, your lung capacity, and that's going to impact your workout. Will it impact your gains? You could probably build the same amount of muscle mass, but it'll definitely impact your health and your performance. Robert, any thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to damage lung tissue, oxygen availability, or your ability to extract oxygen is going to be significantly impaired. You'll have increased phlegm production, which is going to make it more difficult to breathe. Which also, this is going to pay dividends into how quickly you're going to get winded during your training, so you will not be able to perform for as long, for as hard as you would otherwise were you not smoking. Does it have any direct impacts on muscle protein synthesis? I don't believe so. I don't believe nicotine or any of those pathways affect muscle protein synthesis or mTOR to any degree, but the way it's really going to hinder your training and your recovery is in your ability to utilize oxygen effectively. So if you can't get oxygenated blood to your muscles, that's going to severely limit your ability to perform and recover.
Yeah, and you know what? I mean, just quit. Just fight it. Quit.
Yeah.
You stink. You stink. It's bad for your skin, and you stink. And I'm just giving you tough love, but one thing smokers forget is you stink. Everywhere you go, you stink, and everybody smells you. So try to quit. I train 4 times a week with high volume and intensity, hitting one body part a week, and workouts last hour and a half plus cardio. I can sometimes work out 2 days in a row, but other times need rest. Thoughts on this split? If it works for you, go for it. As long as you're progressing, as long as you have a progression approach, you're keeping your rest days intuitive, that's good. So it sounds fine to me. Robert, any thoughts?
Yeah, if you're enjoying it and you're seeing progress, man, just keep rolling with it. No need to shake things up if you're making gains and enjoying it. As long as you're not beating yourself into a pulp or dreading going to the gym with it, then yeah, keep rocking and rolling.
Now I got to say, I made the comment you stink, and I'm thinking about this several times, but I just want to say, I mean, you're on the path to a healthy lifestyle, right? And you have some healthy parts in your life, and I'm not making fun of you, but when you're at the gym, other people can smell you, and they can smell that cigarette smoke, and it's off-putting. It really is. People are going to react to you differently. So you have physical consequences, and you have the consequence from that, and that's why I bring it up, because if you're looking to attract somebody of the opposite sex who is into physical fitness or whatever, you're going to have to find a very special being that's going to tolerate that smell, because it is very prominent and it is very off-putting. M is a little bit too much for me.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what that means, but it's Ecuador. Maybe the country with the largest penis size. It was one of the South American countries.
Okay.
Jonathan Taylor, belt squat machine. Belt squat machine, I don't mind those. I'm not sure if you've played around with those, Robert. The hardest part for me are the belt squat machines that load at the bottom, that make you crouch down almost below a squatting position to get it locked in. Have you played with those at all?
Only a handful of times. There was a powerlifting gym next to the apartment complex we used to live in before we moved into our house that I had used it a couple of times. It's okay. I think if I would have had more experience with it, but the training split we had at the time didn't call for belt squats. I didn't program them in there. So I just, it was just one day I was just dicking around in there, wanted to try with it. If I had gotten more extensive use with it, I probably would enjoy it. I enjoy, trying out all kinds of different types of leg machines and squat machines, hack squats, belt squats, all of those kind of things.
Let's see. GS carry. Weighted carries better on cardio days or lifting days? Weighted carries. I would rather see you do them at the end of a lifting day, personally. I mean, a weighted carries, depending on what you're doing, can be a little bit challenging. So when it comes to that type of more intense weight-based cardio or conditioning work, I would rather see you do it at the end of a session rather than on off days. Robert, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think it would also depend on which training day you're using. If you're doing, if you're on back day, if you've already done a lot of stuff that's taxing to the forearms, like heavy rows, lots of pull-ups, lots of chin-ups, stuff that's recruiting the forearms a lot, and bicep curls and stuff with dumbbells and stuff, I mean, your forearms are going to be gassed, where I think it's going to limit the ability to load the weighted carry or the loaded carry effectively, especially if you're doing something like a farmer's walk or something where you're trying to just like carry 2 heavy dumbbells on the side. Now, if you're doing the waiter's walk where you're holding the thing above your head, that's a different story. Or you got a yoke that you can carry and walk it that way, or a prowler. I think you got to be a little bit more nuanced with it and decide, what exercises preceded the loaded carries and what training day you're doing it on.
I think, anytime I share something, I want people to know anytime I share something or answer a question like this, it's personal opinion. Do whatever you feel is best. As long as you're recovering and it works for you. I always err on the side of getting you out of the gym more days than not, because, I'm not super paranoid about a recovery. You're talking to somebody that lifts or runs pretty much 7 days a week. But, most of us go to a gym, and going to a gym involves traveling. I'd rather we do fewer days rather than more. But anyway, I'm going to skip 2 thoughts on fish oil supplements and multivitamins. This should be an easy one for Robert to tackle.
Yeah, I put those in my, I guess, top 5. If I had to think like the top 5 supplements for just people's general health and wellness, these are both in there. The issue, I guess, is what you would say with all dietary supplements, is finding quality ones. So a lot of the fish oil supplements on the market are very poor quality. The oils that are inside of them oxidize very easily. And if you don't have a good quality manufacturer, and if they're not processing it and storing it right, the oils will oxidize and become rancid, and then they become pro-inflammatory instead of anti-inflammatory. So you negate any of the benefits of taking fish oil. So you want to get it from a reputable supplier. Same thing with multivitamins. Make sure you're getting quality ones that are using quality forms of the minerals. So if you're looking for vitamin B6, you want the P5P form. You also look for B12. You want to get the methylcobalamin form instead of the cyanocobalamin. And magnesium, try to find some kind of chelated magnesium form or magnesium citrate as opposed to magnesium oxide. Do I think they're going to be the cure to cancer, heart disease, diabetes? No, they're not supposed to be that way. They're meant to fill in gaps in your diet. So if you're not eating enough fatty fish oil supplements can give you those essential omega-3s that you need. If you're not getting enough magnesium, molybdenum, selenium, all of these other little trace minerals, that's where multivitamins and fish oil supplements exist. They exist to fill in those little gaps that you might not otherwise be getting from your diet. So yeah, they're good insurance. They're relatively cheap considering the cost of other supplements.
Now, Robert, I got some homework for you on the topic of supplements. I'm going to do a screen share here real quick.
Yeah, I'm going to write this down too, so I remember. Okay,
so I think you're aware that I take caffeine and theanine, and
yes, sir.
I know your thoughts on taking those together. I mean, I think we had an article on those. Taking them together, but I like the products by this company called VALI on Amazon, and I just realized this week that they have other products, and you can see them here on the screen. These are available at Amazon. So I've not heard of this brand before, but their branding looks very clean and very well thought out. So I was curious if you've ever heard of this brand before. Because some of my clients started asking me about this brand because of what I take. And I'd be curious what you think of it if you have time to look at some of their products, if they're shit or if they're actually pretty reasonably, formulated.
Yeah, I can definitely look into it. I mean, it looks like, just from the branding and the labeling, it looks like one of those like Amazon power brands that they specifically have formulated themselves to kind of like dominate the Amazon space. You're not going to find them a lot of other places. Right there, I can tell you that there's keto test strips. That's shit. I'll tell you that right now.
Yeah, there's some stuff on here that's shit that they probably toss in there to make money, but
yeah,
some of them look pretty straightforward. I mean, time release caffeine, electrolytes, that's pretty simple stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'll dig into it. The Neuroforce thing is particularly intriguing.
Yeah, so that's just curious what you think. Maybe we can talk about that next time. Let's see. Programming percentages for the big three with chains. Anybody that's followed me over the years knows that I loved training with chains. I really do. I like them a lot more than bands because bands just feel ganky and almost forced, where chains feel like the movement pattern, like I control the movement pattern more than the bands are controlling me. So I like chains. That's a personal thing. Programming, I would probably start with every other workout. So one workout is bench squats or deads normal, and then the other workout is with chains. I really, really like chains with deadlifts because straight floor pulling, sometimes a little bit harder on the lower back. With chains on the deadlifts, you can overload the lockout, okay? And I love working with chains, a variety of chains on lockouts just to build up my lockout strength. I could put 500 on the bar and then 300 in chains, and it's not as hard for the first 6 inches, so it's a little bit more friendly on my lower back off the ground, and then I'm being tested. So I love training deadlifts with chains. I think you could train deadlifts exclusively with chains if you wanted to. Squats and bench, I would probably alternate every other week. Robert, have you ever messed around with chains or bands?
Not in those contexts, not where you're loading them on a barbell, no.
Bands I've messed around with. I've done reverse band squats, don't really care for them. I've done reverse band benches, don't really care for them. So that's just my opinion.
All right. Nah, I keep it even more basic than that. Body weight and free weights and some machines here and there.
Are there any 5-minute yoga or stretching routines that you would recommend for weightlifters? Yoga, I don't know anything about. None. It's not my wheelhouse, so I'm clueless. Robert, you have any experience with yoga or any sources for anybody curious?
I mean, I've done a lot of the different home yoga workout routines, so some of the different P90X ones that are out there. I know Alan and his wife have the Damn Serenity yoga thing. Alan and Crystal do that. You can go check out their stuff. 5 minutes is, I mean, try to get at least like 10 to 15 if you can, preferably even 30 minutes. I've done hour-long yoga routines before with a lot of vinyasas and flows that way. If you can get into a good groove with it, I find it relaxing. Sandy hates it. Let me pull up. There used to be a YouTube channel that had some good stuff. Let me see if I can find it.
Now, I assume we're talking about after a session and on days in between sessions rather than before a session.
Yeah, or I mean, I would assume it's something that, or just on an off day or something. Look up Sean Vigue Fitness, SEAN space VIGUE on YouTube. Sean Vigue Fitness. He's got a ton of 5, 10, 20, 40-minute yoga for athlete videos. So I've used some of his stuff over the years, and that's good. You can also look up Brian Kest Yoga, Rodney Yee. That's an old school yoga one that's really good. Any of the Tony Horton ones from the P90X series are solid yoga routines. Those require a little bit more time commitment, somewhere in like the 30 to 60-minute range. But I don't typically do a yoga routine before or after training. It's usually a separate day.
I will say that, and Robert, you can correct me if you think I'm criminally insane, but a lot of the stiffness we feel is fascia related. So if you're looking at stretching for lifting, general movement is going to be better. Just general recovery or movement in that area to keep it loose, keep the blood flowing. I would say probably more than stretching. If you want to get into stretching, I would probably recommend yoga over any conventional stretching stuff because I feel it would be a better investment of your time. Foam rolling, I would probably consider a good option as well compared to regular stretching, just to break up that fascia, that calcification or whatever. Robert, would you agree? Am I on the right track with that?
Yeah, I would say that. And, dynamic stuff, that's why I like yoga a little bit more than just static stretching routines. You get a dynamic component to it to move kind of in and everything out, move in and out of different poses, and get some more mobility stuff in there too. Those are both my preferred thing over just purely just sitting there and stretching.
We talked about this, I believe, last week, but as we age, we tend to lose a little bit of mobility. I certainly have. So that's another reason, just from a longevity and a bigger picture, that yoga would probably get another nod from me compared to general stretching.
Yeah.
How soon after waking up is it safe to have an intense workout? That's a very good question. The science, as I know it, says that basically the CNS, the central nervous system, is, it's high powered. It's maximum efficiency late afternoon. So what that doesn't mean you can't work out in the morning. That just means in the morning you might need a few more warm up sets. If you're going to jump out of bed, it doesn't really matter if you're jumping out of bed and your gym is right next to your bedroom, or if you have to go to the gym and it takes you an hour to get there, your warm up is going to be key. So listening to your body is going to be key, and doing enough warm up sets to get your central nervous system awake and to get you awake. Robert, any thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, no issues with training intensely first thing in the morning. I did that for years when I was still in engineering before I jumped into the fitness nutrition sphere. I'd wake up, I'd set my alarm at 4:45 or 5 o'clock, get my hour training session in, whether it was interval training day or resistance training day, go shower, and then hit my 45-minute commute to the engineering office. Some mornings I took a pre-workout, some mornings I didn't. I just rolled into it. But yeah, you wanted to make sure you take a nice, not leisurely warm up, but you do a thorough warm up, because you've been laying still for 8 hours. Hopefully things are going to be a little bit creaky, a little sluggish, a little slow to wake up. So just, give yourself some extra feeder sets or warm up sets, or do some dynamic movement to just get the blood flowing and the synovial fluid lubricating those joints.
And the question about safety, anything is as safe as you make it.
Yeah, and your body will acclimate to it. The research shows that your body's primed, or it is at its max output around 3 to 4 p.m. in the afternoon, or mid afternoon. But you can still have a phenomenal workout first thing in the morning. You just got to get your body used to it.
Yeah, and I mean, in a perfect world, we're primed and ready to go 2, 3, 4 in the afternoon. But a lot of us, with work stress and life demands and kids and house, and the fucking car had a flat tire on the way to work and all that kind of stuff. By that time, a lot of us are ready just to go home and drool, be mindless idiots. I'm one of them. Safety versus convenience for you. Just keep that in mind. Jake McLeavy, thoughts of Viking press to benefit the overhead press, like doing a heavy set of overhead press and Viking press for higher reps. I got a Viking press this week and I've yet to use it. Only $59 on Amazon.
Really? Let me pull it up and see.
Let me show you what I got. Rob, are you familiar with it? Let me show everybody what we're talking about, so they have some context. So hold on, folks. And while I'm searching for this, I want to remind you guys we're getting close to the end of the road. So if you have any questions, please get them in now. This is your last call. All right, Robert, I'm going to screenshot what I got.
No, I'm not seeing anything on Amazon. I think it's sold out.
58. Let me pull it up. Hold on a second.
Oh no, the Yes for All Viking press attachment. Yeah, see, it attaches to like a landmine setup.
So yeah, I got this bet.
Yeah, and it's out of stock. That figures.
Yeah, I bought the last one, bitches. Probably, but it was only $58, and it came in this small little box. But if you can find this on Amazon, I'd keep an eye on it. It's inexpensive. So back to the question. Stop sharing. Where did the question go? Viking press. I like the Viking press. Back in the day, before I heard about the Viking press, I would do an overhead press using the hack squat pads, which is basically the same thing. So I think that's a really good supplementary exercise to overhead press. Mm-hmm. So if you're going to start with your overhead presses, do I think the Viking press is a good complement to that? Absolutely. I would definitely do it for a little bit higher rep range like you're doing it. So
Yeah, it's almost like a landmine press almost, but the hand placements are a little different.
yeah, and the problem I have with like the landmine press, I like doing it, but it's always ganky because it's always one arm and it always feels a little bit off to me.
Yeah.
So HB, any tips to stop falling forward on the back squat? I find my heels coming off the floor. I would have to look at it. There's some issues going on here. If it's when you're coming down, you could have some elevation in your shoes. Generally, what you're doing is folding forward, your weight's moving forward. There's usually a reason your weight's moving forward. The number one reason, or there's some contributing factors, you don't have proper tightness when you descend, and that's upper and lower body tightness. And your knees are not opening a lot. And the knees issue is the biggest one among squatters that I see over and over and over again. Their knee angle is inside their toe angle, and it causes them to fall forward. So, HB, what I would recommend is sending me a video of your squat on Instagram at Ben the Barman, because without looking at it, it could be many, many reasons. Luke, how many rest days per week for a 15-year-old doing power building? Same as a 22-year-old doing power building or a 32-year-old doing power building. There's probably no need to train more than 4 days a week at your age. So that would be my best advice. When in a lean bulk, does the quality of the extra surplus calories matter? I'm going to hit this real quick, Robert, and then I'm going to have you jump in. It depends, okay? I have clients that are lean bulking on 4,000 calories a day. Sounds shocking, but there are some of you with very fast metabolisms that have a hard time getting in your calories. I have a client from Saudi Arabia, and I have a client from a couple clients from the European countries that are up around that level, and they need junk calories to get those calories in. If you're lean bulking and you're at 1,900, 2,000 calories a day, I would say you need more quality surplus. Robert, any thoughts?
Yeah, I guess what in the context of your diet, how much other crap is in there versus how much quality stuff is in there? If everything else in your diet is already tip-top shape, it's lots of fruits and veggies, lots of whole grains, lean proteins, all that good stuff. Do I think the 100 calories of M&Ms versus whey protein is going to make one hill of beans difference? No, not at all. If the rest of your diet's buttoned up, I mean, you can follow like the 80-20, 90-10 principle. 80 to 90% of your calories are super clean, high quality foods, nutrient dense, whole foods, minimally processed. Then the last 10, 15% can be whatever you want to. I don't think it's going to make that much of a difference. Could you make an argument into like get really down into like the minutia, physiological minutia of stuff, saying should that surplus be more from carbohydrate rich foods or protein rich foods versus fat? So if I have 100 extra calories, should that be from proteins and carbs versus fat, since fat will be more easily stored in the body as fat? Now, if that surplus was from carbohydrates or protein, your body's got to convert it and break it down into other things. It's got to go through several more steps before it could possibly become dietary fat or fatty acids that get stored in fat tissue. But we're talking macro level here. I don't think it makes a hill of a beans difference if you're consuming, if all of your other ducks in a row and you're already consuming everything else super high quality, healthy, you can live a little.
Yeah, I would say that 9 times out of 10, the protein sources we're intaking are pretty quality. I mean, as lifters, we're eating meats, seafood, that sort of things. So protein is rarely an issue. Quality protein is rarely an issue. Like for me, once I got my protein knocked out of the way, for lunch and for dinner, I have at least 6 fruits or veggies with my meal. And it sounds crazy, but I cover my micronutrient bases. And then if I need extra calories, I don't really worry about it because I got my proteins, I got my veggies and fruits. And after that, if I need 200-300 more calories, I'll eat one of these. These are one of my favorites. It's not the worst thing in the world, but once you got your bases covered, the last 10 to 20%, I wouldn't worry about it too much if you have your bases covered. If you don't like fish, do shrimp and shellfish work as a substitute? Robert, let's say, you're trying to get in your fish oils, right? But you don't like your fish. Do shrimp and shellfish work as a substitute? Because as a protein source, they are what they are, right? They're just a real food. But what would you say about that?
Shrimp are incredibly lean. I mean, like next to chicken breast, they're one of the leanest protein sources around. You're not going to get many omega-3s from them. You'll get iodine, which is good, and some zinc and some other good stuff. But you're not going to get many essential oils from them. So in that case, I would say go with an omega-3 supplement.
All right, Robert. Do you guys recommend a total week off of training every now and then? Yes. We mentioned this earlier, but it's something I'm processing a lot this week. The advocacy of taking 1 to 2 weeks completely off of training twice a year, every 6 months, just to heal your wounds. Because the older I get, the more I keep a focus on, the more I think about longevity and lifting, not just longevity in life. So I don't think it's a bad idea at all. Robert, any thoughts?
Agreed. I'm right there with you, Steve.
I'm drooling. My energy drink is done. That means we're going to shut it down soon. Is splitting a workout into 2 sessions in the day, AM and PM, is there any issue in hitting the same muscle group both sessions? If it's wisely done, no. What I would do, though, is I would do the compounds early and then the isolations later. Okay, you could do that. One of the for anybody that wants to do an A/B split during the day or 2 days, excuse me, you could also do your heavy compounds in the evening, and then when you wake up in the morning, do your isolations for that body part. So on Monday night, you could do compounds, you could do squats. Tuesday morning, you could do your isolation exercises on leggies. Tuesday night, you could do your heavy back exercises or chest exercises. Wednesday morning, you could do your iso. So that's another way to work it. Robert, any thoughts on that?
I guess my question would be, why do you want to split up a single muscle group across the same day? Is it a time thing, or are you looking that you could maybe get more quality by splitting your sessions up, or do you just like training that much and you've got extra time because half the world's under lockdown right now? I think you can do it. I would probably not put 4 quad exercises all on the same day. I would split. I would take those 4 quad exercises and split my leg training up. So do your quad centric work in the morning and then do some hamstring centric stuff in the afternoon. And then another day of the week, put those other 2 quad exercises on there and then hit them with some more hamstring stuff on a second day. So that way you get higher total quality work volume while you're getting ample volume for the other working muscle groups of the legs too.
Scientifically, I don't think there's a lot of information on this. So just try to keep it intuitive and if it works for you, that's okay. We've considered this just because it's harder with my work schedule to get in an hour workout and run. So we thought about getting up and hitting ABs like this, but it's just then we got to do warm-ups twice a day, and it just didn't work out. All right,
there's also mental fatigue that can set into you're forcing yourself to walk back. Not forcing yourself if you like it, but there's going to be some mental grind that's going to go into that because you'll get amped up for your training session. You'll knock out your 6 to 8 sets, and then you'll be done. And then you've got a few hours later, you got to go back in there and do it again. And just trying to get yourself back into that mindset can be taxing for some people.
Yeah, it might not be every day, but there's certain days it will be. The Viking press is the exact one I bought. Amazing piece of equipment, especially considering the price. Any thoughts on training body parts, again, a day or 2 before they've fully recovered? Well, I mean, define fully recovered, really. I mean, I've done 8x8, 10x10 on squats, and I was sore 10 days later. So, if there's soreness, I guess the question is, why are you trying to train them a day or 2 before your next cycle in your workout? You have a workout schedule, so I'm assuming you're trying to stick to a schedule. And I'm assuming you're saying when it comes to training chest or legs again, there's some soreness. You got to be really careful with that, because it's not that you can't train with soreness, but if you try to use the same weight and you're just not feeling full capacity, you could increase the risk of injury. So just be careful.
Yep.
I'm just trying to blast through these. Robert, I'm going to toss this on your plate. Anything to intermittent fasting?
Do I think it's magical? There's some magical time of day that all of your calories, if you eat them in there, is it going to make fat loss easier, make you more anabolic or anything? No. I think the utility of intermittent fasting lies in an individual's ability to confine their eating to a specific window. So that helps them not think about food, alleviate some of the mental stress that goes with dieting, helps eliminate their craving. And they know that, hey, when 4 o'clock hits, that's when I can eat. That's when I can figure out food. That's great. If it helps them maintain their calorie deficit or whatever, stick to whatever calorie goals they're doing, I think that, and helps them avoid crap, I think that's a really good thing for it. I don't think there's any magical fat loss benefits outside of it just helping people adhere to their diet. And if there's anything that we know from diet culture, it's that adherence is the single biggest predictor of weight loss success. You've got to be able to stick to a diet and enjoy it to some meaningful degree, for it to work for you and your lifestyle. So if you can, adhere to just eating in, a 6 to 8 hour window each day, and that works for you, fine. If you don't like doing the eat every 3 hours, eat every 4 hours, and have a bunch of mini meals, then don't do it. So it can work for calorie control for some people. For other people, it may not work for them.
With my client base, the biggest thing that causes people to fail is not having a plan. So. Yeah. A good thing about intermittent fasting is you have a plan every day. Okay. And many of my clients start out with a plan, and then they what's your meal plan for the week? I don't know. Did you meal prep? No. Did you think about what you're having for lunch? No. So with intermittent fasting, you have a plan. That's a good thing. There are a lot of people struggling with binge eating issues. So to just pretend we can magically wake up and not have a binge eating issue is a fairy tale. So it's a good idea for a binge eater to kind of work with their existing eating habits. And they're not going to binge eat crap at night. Instead, they're going to make a swap or replacement and eat healthier food. So I think it's a good opportunity for the binge eater to transition to something more like this. I will say our culture is snack heavy. Many people eat too many snacks before 5 and then leave themselves fewer calories for the evening. For this reason, we can learn from intermittent fasting. And if anything we can take home, we need to probably eat less before 5 o'clock than we're eating now. It's not magic like Robert says, but it's definitely something we can learn a lot from and have some good discussions from it. Naveed, we're almost done, guys. If you're true that if you train as best as possible from your early 20s to 30s, you will never be as adept compared to your best because of genetic it depends on what the activity is. Gymnastics, you're probably going to be your best before you hit 22. Strength training, you're generally the strongest men in the world are over 40. Yeah. Ultra marathoners, the guys I know that do the best are generally over 40. They've been through the pain of a lifelong relationship and they know how to handle struggle. So that's just humor, folks. But you can gain muscle easier and during those years, I would say that. But it depends on what we're talking about. Robert, any thoughts?
No, there's something that old man strength, that old man muscle, and you get that density that you hear a lot of the elite bodybuilders talk about, that you can build muscle in your early days, but you really get like the density, the graininess of it and all of that as you age. So I think that's missing the forest for the trees there. It's really just, no matter what stage you are in your life, busting your ass and going after it. Fuck when your prime window is, when your genetic potential is going to be maximized and all that. If you want to make yourself better, focus on doing it all that you can.
The only advantage age gives you is that less stuff is broken.
Yeah.
So take advantage of it. You also need to be smart because a lot of people abuse that and think that the punishment, just because they don't notice the punishment they're putting their body through now, isn't going to be cumulative, and it is. Is doing 70-pound dumbbell bench the same as doing 140? No. They're very different. I think I got up to 150s by 10s on dumbbell bench, and my barbell bench was close to 410 at the time. So they're close, they're close, but some people handle them better. Some people don't. You can generally push more with one arm than you can with both. Like on a dumbbell row, you can dumbbell row more with one than you can equivalently barbell row with two. That's because unilaterally, when you're engaging one hand, the body is generally more efficient from a central nervous system standpoint. But when you have two, it's kind of the same thing. It's going to be pretty close to bench. Robert, any thoughts on that?
Yeah. Plus, you've also got more when you're doing dumbbell bench. Your body, in addition to like the neurological demands that you were mentioned, Steve, you've also got the stabilizers that are going to have to do work a hell of a lot more from trying to keep those dumbbells in line and straight than you will with a barbell. That's a more of a fixed path where the dumbbells can move, all over the place. There's much more opportunity for them to traverse and translate across space.
All right, just a last question, guys. And if we missed anything, head over to Instagram at Ben the Barman or the Supplement Engineer. Post up your question. Remember, we are here every Friday at 11 Eastern, so get your butt over here. We appreciate your support. Oh, well, I was talking specifically about bodybuilding in terms of looking the best as possible. I heard that you always look best in your early 20s. I mean, I think you look better with age if you stay with it.
Look at all the Mr. Olympias. They're all 30, 35, 40 plus, and that's when they're winning.
I will say you have your best advantage because your hormonal system, everything is in its best shape. As long as you're not abusing it, So hormonally, to look your best, it's probably easier to be leaner. You probably have a better metabolism, etc. And we got one that snuck in here. As a person with beat up shoulders, does it make a lot of sense to do more pulling and less pushing? You should probably be doing more rowing, pulling than pushing to begin with. But if you have shoulder issues, I would consider using like a slingshot and really, really weeding out any shoulder exercises that bother your shoulders. Thank you, Jermaine. We are out of here. Robert, thank you as always, and have a great weekend. We'll see you next week.
You too, my friend.
Yep, bye now.